Workplace safety, quality standards and outcomes, quality assurance. Hello all, this is the topic of this presentation. I will also briefly address PI, performance improvement, although it is different. I do so primarily because all too often these terms, including total quality management or TQM and risk management, are terms and departments within a facility that are used as an umbrella term, if you will, to include all. Okay, let's get right into it. Here are the objectives for this presentation. Again, they come right from the online module. Organizational safety is a big deal. This includes everyone, from staff collectively, personnel, to each individual within the healthcare system. Examples for the individual include stress and time management. As you see, I utilized firemen as my presentation template. EMS, emergency medical services, are also crucial to workplace safety. Firemen, EMTs, paramedics, law enforcement, and military. We will discuss this a bit further into the lecture. Okay, I begin with a safety event that just happened here recently while I was working at a hospital. This aligns well with us stepping back into Section 1 for a moment, as it relates to standards of care, standards of practice, and personnel decisions. Communication. Picture it. The unit is full of patients who are confused, withdrawing from drugs or alcohol, so DTs. To add insult to injury, a few of those patients are also COVID positive. So, bed alarms are going off left and right, and not all rooms can you just run in, right? One of my fellow nurses, I was down the hall, so I was not near the room, but he visually sees one of the patients get out of bed, alarm is going off, and as he approaches the room to gown up, the patient begins to pull at her pick and is wobbling from her DTs. The nurse runs into the room immediately, yelling, "Can someone come help me?" while essentially catching the patient before she falls and preventing her from pulling out the PICC line. But no PPEs. The nurse is in there. No gown, no mask, no eye gear. Oh dear, the deed is done. Exposure occurred, and not only has the nurse been exposed to COVID, but potentially anyone on the unit now. This is a big deal. Talk about the big picture. This flash-second decision affects facility policy, employee health, and the unit. Yes, we have quality indices that influence nursing practice, guided by such accrediting organizations as the IOM, TJC, stands for the Joint Commission, and QSIN, Quality and Safety in Nursing Education, and Team STEPS is used throughout ADN programs. I'm certain you have heard of QSIN. All of these organizations exist to ensure that health services create desired health outcomes and patient safety. The two cannot be separated. QI, quality improvement, involves the data processes used to improve quality and safety. Decisions are based on the data. The focus in this regard is not just the process or utility of data, however, but on systems, cost effectiveness, and satisfaction. But are these regulations what govern or motivate us to act? To some degree, yes. In fact, standards must be applied from every angle. Safety and competence should always be patient-centered and efficient. Your textbook talks about equitable as well. Now, I agree with that. However, equity is not realistic in all circumstances because what does equity mean? It refers to fairness. Would it be fair in the scenario just described to catch the patient, then run out, leaving her at risk to fall once again because another one of your patients just called requesting a pain medication? I suppose it isn't fair because that patient is also your responsibility and also in need. But one of these two patients need more of your attention at this moment than the other. Individual needs and wants will always vary. Know your audience and your surroundings. Situational awareness. How we act and what motivates us are also influenced by our moral and ethical standards. Right or wrong, we act based on those innate and learned values every day. We already discussed annual evaluations, employee reviews in the professional communication section, but I include a review here because this is where performance improvement comes into play. Literally think performance. I suppose sentinel events are performance, i.e., med errors, but consequently are also a quality measure. Segueing from performance improvement and quality assurance topics such as nurse-centered processes, med errors, CAUTI rates, it is crucial we consider us, the nurses. We need to take care of ourselves. I know it sounds moronic, but it is so true. If we do not take care of yourself, you are in no position to care for others. This is not to say you can have a bad day, come to work tired, whatever. It infers taking care of your own mental and physical self. Recall, well-being for our patients is not limited to physical condition. It is the whole being. The same applies to us. Before we move forward, I just had to place a funny video clip that demonstrates our lexicon or humor, followed by a somber yet eye-opening news article depicting the reasoning behind why some nurses choose to leave the profession. Go ahead and view both, open the link, and then come back. This slide reminds us once again of our purpose as nurses, particularly in light of the recent lockdowns and the restrictions imposed by COVID. Burnout is real, as well as exhaustion, a loss of empathy and sympathy toward others, and constant questioning on how we can do better from our leaders and/or administration. Hence, caregiver strain and fatigue. This fish analogy depicts why it is crucial that even in deep waters, surrounded by all that is, quote, normal, quote, to us, we need to not lose sight. Be aware, be intentional, take a deep breath, and affirm your value. Safety is not limited to in-house or just where we work. It is all-encompassing. A key example, I tried to include a Google image of it on this slide, but don't have the room, is the deployment of our military hospital ships, the USS Hope and USS Comfort, to assist in the COVID outbreak. This was a great example of private and public sector coming together to meet a need and pursue a cause to save lives. I also included here a photo of then President Trump issuing a Medal of Honor to a Special Forces member for his heroic actions. Then below, that is a photo of a police officer administering CPR to an infant. And we cannot overlook our firemen and EMTs. Heck, they are represented in our PowerPoint template today. At any rate, we are in this together. It is not the nurses against the cops or EMS, or the firemen against the EMTs, the various military branches against one another. No, it is about saving lives and working together as a team to accomplish a goal. Now, this may be a bit controversial, but it's an issue that nursing cannot overlook, particularly as we promote political activism, justice, and professional conduct. And that is defunding the police. Law enforcement exists to do just that, protect the community and defend the law. You could argue there are bad cops. Yes, absolutely. But can we also not say there are bad nurses? There are a few bad or poorly performing people in all occupations, but it is so important we show support. There is not a shift that goes by, if I have an inmate as a patient, that I don't thank the officers who rotate through. Yes, they are there because the patient is basically property of the Department of Corrections, but they are also there to protect us. Notice they either go in with you or stand at the door watching every single time you walk into that patient's room. I'm sure those of you who are ER nurses have your fair share of similar interactions and quite interesting stories. As I have said before, humility and gratitude go a long way. As an RN, I just encourage each of you to be conscientious about these kinds of movements that tend to solidify as a social imperative. Our last and final slide is the reference list. As always, any questions, let me know. Have a fantastic day.